Fascinating.
So in this video, we'll look at widget variables, how to bind values to particular variables, and then how to expose variables so that when you create a widget, you can pass information through the create widget node. So looking at our example, when we now click in and play, launch the menu, and press play, we've got a level sequence that plays through, and then the spawning of the logo, and then these captions that are appearing now over the footage are a single widget, and the text in them changes dynamically based on us passing information through the create widget node. We can also affect the duration of how long that widget is on screen for. So let's explain how I've done that. So if we look at our film caption widget, so it's very light. As we did before, create new widget, and then I've made it the size that I want. I've brought in a text block, and same thing, put the center point in the middle of the screen size, and then aligned my text to the middle. Now, that's just a kind of generic piece of text. On the right hand side here though, you can then set content. So you can have fixed content if you don't want it to change, or on the right hand side, and let's do it again, it will normally be in this state, and you say either create binding, or you can attach it to a variable. So let's have a look at the graph of our widget, which is where the blueprint code sits. So looking at what we have here, on the event construct, I've actually set up a delay that has a float variable that I've now clicked on the expose and instance editable checkboxes. So those two checkboxes are on, which gives it that little eye icon, which basically means that we can access it from elsewhere. So in a similar vein, I've got a text overlay, which I've got instance editable and expose on spawn. And that's not actually used anywhere as yet, because what we're going to do, rather than use it, we can just bind to it here. So now that text block will always be bound to that variable. So when that variable changes, this text will update here. Okay. So how and where can we use that? So as mentioned, I've used it in the example using our level sequence. So this is just to sort of illustrate the point that it can be used anywhere really. As part of our level sequence, I've just had that sort of animated move of the camera moving across, but what you also have is the ability to add a track, and you add an event track. And the one I've added is a trigger. So when I've done that, I've then got this track added here. Now, as with any layer in the sequencer, you can kind of go to a point in time and add a keyframe. So let's look at these variables. So I've got two widgets that are being used. I've got one for the logo, which has its sort of delay and remove from parent, i.e. removing it from the viewport locally because I didn't expose the duration as part of that widget, the logo widget. But now if we look at our film caption widget, when I've gone to create film caption widget and created that node, we now also have those variables that we exposed. So now I can pass in any information into text overlay and set the timing here for destroying the widget and removing it from the viewport. So by exposing them here, I've got kind of control in one place rather than having to flip between. So now continuing down, we can set our text overlay to different variables. So here, for example, the text overlay says available from March 2021. So sequence event 4 has Fabrice Burelli's URL, and we've got that credit for evermotion.org for the scene. So by creating the widget and letting it destroy itself based on the time that we're passing through, we've got control within the sequencer. So let's see how that looks. So it's just one widget that is doing all the heavy lifting, and we're just changing that variable in the level sequence. So that's the kind of takeaway, the fact that by exposing the variable, you can pass huge amounts of data, be it, we've just passed strings and bits of text through, but you can pass any information into the widget and then use it to handle different interactions. So
Live long and prosper.